Welcome to the Simplify Your Life podcast, where we talk about how to create a life you won't need an escape from. I'm Coach Simone, author of the book 111 Ways to Simplify Your Life, and I'm glad you decided to tune in. Now, before discussing blind spot bias in depth and exploring some helpful examples when it comes to this cognitive distortion, I want to remind you that this is the last episode of the Cognitive Biases series. So if you've missed the previous episodes, you can check them out by visiting youtube.com/CoachSimone. Now, before we explore blind spot bias in depth, let's clarify what a cognitive bias actually means. A cognitive bias is a systematic error in thinking that affects the decisions and judgments that you make. Another popular term that has the exact same meaning as cognitive biases is cognitive distortion. Now, as we mentioned, the cognitive bias we're going to explore in depth today is called blind spot bias. What does this cognitive distortion actually mean? Blind spot bias refers to our tendency to recognize cognitive biases in others, but failing to recognize our own cognitive biases. For example, when you listen to one of the other episodes from the series and you thought of your friends or family, but not yourself, that is a clear sign of having a blind spot bias and thinking that you're less biased than others. The term bias blind spot was coined by psychologist Emily Pronin in 2002. And it refers to people having a more accurate assessment of the impact of cognitive biases on other people, but not themselves. For example, falling for promotional campaigns and buying 2 packs of something you don't really need and thinking that it was your choice, instead of questioning how your cognitive biases were involved in the decision-making process. Blind spot bias is at play here. As with any other cognitive bias, blind spot bias can be difficult to detect. So we need to be aware of its manifestations to be able to spot our error in thinking and choose a better, more objective view of the situation. The question is, do we all struggle with blind spot bias, or is it something that only happens to a handful of us? The short answer is probably yes. While we can't confirm that that is the case for every single person on planet Earth, it's definitely something that is quite common for us humans. We all have cognitive biases and blind spots. So although we may not struggle with blind spot bias per se, we'll definitely have problems with other cognitive biases. I've actually made a free downloadable cheat sheet with the top 15 cognitive biases that might be holding you back. So if you want to download it, just click the link in the description box below or head over to bit.ly/15biases. Now let's go back to blind spot bias. Here are a few examples to illustrate this bias. Blind spot bias can also be spotted when someone lacks self-awareness and introspection when it comes to their shortcomings. For example, when you judge others for not being able to recognize their own blind spots, while you're struggling with the same issue yourself. One more example of blind spot bias is reinforcing your biased behaviors. For example, continuing to do things the way you've always done them, although someone else gives you solid evidence of the opposite. Being stubborn and unable to self-reflect when it comes to the things that don't paint you in the greatest light could also be a sign of having a blind spot bias. Dealing with blind spot bias doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. This is a cognitive bias, which means it's going to happen whether or not you want it to happen. The more objective you are about your own cognitive biases, the easier it will be to recognize blind spot bias. As you can see, before we come to any conclusions, it will be beneficial to step back and assess the situation objectively. So how can we do that? What can help a lot when it comes to spotting blind spot bias is to ask yourself the following questions. 1. Is this a fact? 2. What evidence can I collect to support this statement? 3. Am I being rational here, or is this a cognitive bias? 4. If this is a cognitive bias, which one is it? This concludes our series on cognitive biases, and I'm looking forward to our next series, which will be on defense mechanisms. So make sure to subscribe if you want to get notified when the next one goes live. If you haven't downloaded your free cheat sheet, just click the link in the description box below or head over to bit.ly/15biases. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this podcast episode, please like it, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.